Welcome, all you +2 comedy modifiers, back to the stream. Welcome to a very special episode. TV's Noah here, water in hand. And today we have a very special Puppetmaster interview after going all the way through Generation Zero of the TEC Archives. With me today, I have the creator of that ARG. I have YarnEnderman. How you doing, Yarn?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm recovering from a cold, so if you see me eating tons of cough drops during this, that's why. But I'm so glad to have you here because the TEC Archives, or what do you prefer that it's referred to as? The TEC Archives or Generation Zero? How do you refer to this game?
I kind of use them interchangeably, to be honest.
All right, good.
I
So
don't
do
really
I.
have a set name.
That makes sense. So I greatly enjoyed the game, and I can't think of a game that I played where I'm so unsure that my belief of the narrative is correct.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of feels like that after playing through it.
Yeah, like there's some really interesting stuff here, but like I question absolutely everything that I experienced here, so I'm not really sure what's correct and what is not. So I just kind of want to talk to you about the game, some of your thoughts. I don't have chat on screen, but if you are chatting along, I have it up for me to refer to, and we're going to have a lovely chat. So I think I'm going to start by just kind of giving an idea of what I think happened, and feel free to jump in with your thoughts and corrections.
Sure.
Okay, so this is a multi-dimension storyline. So there's multiverses and different universes where things are happening at different rates and at different times, and different events take place. And this is mostly the story of X discovering these tapes and kind of, in a way, getting played by his comrade. What was his comrade's name? Suddenly,
Ash.
Ash. Ash kind of had their own motives in and connections to the TEC archives, and all of these things are just kind of converging into this like it seemed like there was supposed to be one moment where they all ended up together in this like weird plane, and that was kind of like the crux of it, was bringing everyone to that moment. And what happens beyond that, I'm unsure.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Okay. One of my big takeaways from this, and I think that's where I kind of want to get started, was the way that you kind of introduced the idea of multiple dimensions. You kind of imply that some of the dimensions are fictional places in our reality, but exist in these other dimensions. Was I on the right track with that?
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate way of phrasing it.
Okay, because there was a lot of stuff like about cartoons and video games in there that like seemed to be a crossover. So it would be correct to say that like something that is fictional in our universe may exist in another dimension.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You sound unsure yourself. Do you fully understand the story?
I'll be honest, this was so long ago that I kind of forgotten everything.
So, yeah, we should clarify. So, Generation Zero is what I went through. That's kind of like a chapter in the bigger story that you're telling, right?
Yes.
Okay. The thing that baffled me most about all of this was the video at the end where I believe it's you on like explaining that like you're the person who really found everything, and you changed the names to like protect the innocent.
What you've been watching, none of it's real in the sense that all of the tapes that you've been watching are creations made by me to tell someone's story.
Yeah.
What was the thought behind that? Was that a retcon so you could do other things? Did you want to change something? Was that the plan
It,
all along?
it was kind of the plan all along, but also it was a way of explaining like some of the things I didn't like about it. So it's also kind of a retcon. So I didn't like how I did the editing towards the beginning, so I just explained it away by saying that it was actually edited by Stanley rather than being an actual tape that he found.
So by saying you didn't like the editing, are you talking specifically about the video that takes place in the facility?
That one, yeah. There
Okay.
was some before it that I wasn't a massive fan of as well.
Okay, because I definitely like the feel of this project, of it all kind of being contained within these like almost employee training videos.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really enjoyed like that way of like getting the story across in these manners. And then I remember when I watched the X goes into the facility video, you were in the chat like, "Ugh, not a fan of this."
yes.
I actually really liked it because that's all like generated, right? That's all like
Yeah, it was
animation.
all done using Blender.
So that's all Blender. Okay, that makes sense. So I think one of the big questions about this is one of the big choices that the players had in game was someone had to go to the facility and we had to choose between X and Ash. And we chose X and then X went missing. And you said in my chat, it's like, this is the consequences of your action. So I have to ask, like,
Yeah.
was that what you thought people would choose? Did you think people would choose X? And like, what would have changed if we had chosen Ash?
Well, I imagined that people would probably pick X, but it would have been very different if Ash had gone instead.
Okay.
Like the ending would have been completely different.
Okay. Would you
Uh, uh,
say we made the wrong choice?
well, really depends on how much you trust Ash. Like, Ash is one of my favorite characters, so I just naturally trust him as the creator, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
But some people still don't trust him, so
I'm one of those
yeah.
people. I did not trust Ash because we got the liar message from the description of the one video. And I was like, okay, Ash is a liar. I'm anti Ash and pro X for the rest of this.
Yeah, fair enough.
Was that not supposed to be my takeaway?
Well, the liar message throughout the ARG was actually intended as a reference to X lying about where he actually was, because he didn't know that he had made it all up in his head. So he was lying to himself, and that's
Oh,
what they were calling him a liar for.
okay. Interesting.
But I
Interesting.
still liked your interpretation.
Okay. Uh, it's weird that like it became so like commonplace of like when I watched one of these videos, I was like, okay, we're gonna watch a video. I'm gonna go to the description. There's gonna be a hidden message using the same key, and I'm gonna decode that and get some information. And because I did that so often, I kind of stopped asking myself the question, wait, who's leaving me this message? I just kept being like, yeah, this is the thing we do. And it wasn't until like way late in the game that I was like, wait a minute, who is this person?
I feel like not many people have actually questioned that. I haven't seen. Just I've been watching people playing it
Yeah.
since the beginning, and I haven't seen one person other than you actually stop and question why they're there.
Is that something you want to shed some light on? I understand if it's not.
It's... I might touch on it a bit in Generation 1, so I won't reveal too much.
Okay, so let me ask this then. Do you think, based on what already exists, that there would be a way for us to figure that out?
Kind of.
Oh,
Really depends on how deeply.
okay, gotcha.
Somewhere my subconscious might have manifested a reference to them somewhere in the ether.
Okay.
So, the answers might be somewhere out there.
So I definitely like there's definitely parts of the story that I found confusing, but I feel like there was a big
Lots of people
moment.
did.
Yeah, it's a confusing story, which is the fun of it. But I think the defining moment of my experience with it, and definitely like one of the few moments where I was like, oh, I think I discovered something, was the two cameras.
Yes.
So there's a moment where X returns. I'm doing quotation fingers. X returns, and they have two of the same camera, but they're so clearly not the same camera. And when I said that, you were like, no one else figured that out. And I lost my mind because I was like, clearly they're not the same camera. So I did put out some theories of why I think this is the case. And I ran through them in a video. And I'm going to run through them again. And just let me know what thoughts you have about this.
Yeah.
So my theories were, because clearly something's not right here. My theory was the X that returned was a different X from a different dimension that was doing something like similar, but because the dimensions are slightly different, he had a slightly different camera. Or the way Ash kept phrasing it was, I don't know what that is, but it's not X. The way that phrasing was used was like, okay, this is something that is impersonating X, and it was imperfect when it had the camera, like when it kind of like mirrored X's camera.
Yeah.
Would you say either of those are approaching correct?
It depends how you view exactly what Ash was saying. Like, he never said that that version of X is human. First of all.
Okay, true. So I guess there's a possibility, which you think Ash would use some words to describe this. That some weird abomination creature showed up that didn't even look human and was like, I'm X.
Well, maybe it looks human, but somewhere in his subconscious he knows that there's something not right about him, if that makes sense.
Okay. That sounds like a very nice way of saying no. Neither of the two theories I had are correct.
Kind of.
I'm gonna get a straight answer out of you eventually on something.
I don't think there are any straight answers in this ARG.
Here, let me at least ask you this, because you said you watched a lot of people play this along, like not just me, but other people like really experience this ARG. Is there a common misconception that, or conclusion that people stumble into that is incorrect that you would like to correct?
Well, you found one of them, which was that the cameras quite clearly aren't the same camera. Was there anything else? I think there was something. What was it?
While you're thinking, I just want to say hi to the chat. The chat's all chatting. I do see it. It's just not on screen. If you guys have any questions for Yarn, feel free to drop them in, and I'll read them out in a little
Yes. Watch me be more awkward. I haven't done any of these, like, any interviews ever.
See,
I'm gonna be very awkward.
and that's fine. That's kind of like the beautiful thing about ARGs that I love is that like anyone can pick one up and just try to do one. And I
Yeah.
think you were very successful in that. But unlike movies or like music or something like that, you're not expected to then be interviewed and discuss it. And I show up
Yeah.
and make everything strange. So it's okay. Like there's no pressure.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting it to get as much attention as it actually did. I was expecting maybe like 100 people would see it and try and figure it out. I didn't expect it to. It was just like a passion project at first. I just thought, oh, what if I just make this thing and put it out there for the world to enjoy?
So what
Yeah, it
what
turned into
inspired you to
something
make it?
Just my love of ARGs, really. Because I've been watching multiple different ARGs for years before I started this one, and I wanted to try and make my own one that was different enough that it was its own thing and it wasn't just a copy of every other ARG.
Well, OMG Kyle What asks, what were your inspirations? So, like, shout them out. What ARGs were you into?
So Greylock is the recent one that I've been interested in.
Okay.
Taking some inspiration from that. There's also one that's not as known, Midwest Angelica.
Okay.
Mandela Catalog inspired me for a couple of the videos.
Yeah, I could see that shining through.
Yeah. Gemini Home Entertainment had a massive influence on my ARG. Then that's pretty much it.
Okay.
There were other ones that I drew ideas from, but I didn't have as much that I took from them as inspiration.
All right, gotcha. Is there anything specifically that inspired you to tell this story? Like this interesting story of multi-dimensions and spelunking?
Yeah, actually, that was the thing that, going back to your earlier question, that was the thing that nobody really questioned, was this whole side plot with the spelunking incident. And it was just kind of there at the beginning, and then everyone just kind of forgot about it.
Like, because I remember being like, making connections, like, okay, this is referring to this, and oh, okay, this is where something's coming out. All right, so he must have run into this creature, and then it was just gone.
Yeah. Like, the beginning of the RG is very different to the ending, but like, if there is stuff at the end that ties to the beginning, and there's stuff at the beginning that ties to the end, and links to each other.
Okay. Is that all you want to say?
I mean, again, it depends how deeply you look into it.
Okay.
Like, if you try and find the connections, you will find them.
Okay.
Like, there's recurring incidents that happen that are important and central to the story, and there's characters who pop up multiple times, and yeah.
Okay.
So there is, like, it's not just it goes from spelunking to it's all a dream and there's a car crash and stuff. Like, it is related.
Okay. Okay. Because, like, when it comes to solving this, I think more clearly than any of the other ARGs that I've really played, this one is the most unsolved. Because I think there are, like, complete elements of this where I'm like, there's something here and I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
Because there's the what I'm calling the Morse code video. Where
Oof.
it seems like, all right, this is clearly Morse code, but I think there's been so many filters over top of this that I don't think I can solve it.
That was originally going to be a 1-hour video.
A 1 hour
Of just
video?
Morse code. And I thought that would be too much to solve, so I just did this one smaller section. And then that became unsolvable, so now it's just a useless video that's just out there.
So you agree that it has been made unsolvable?
Yes, it has.
Do you want to, by chance, first off, ignore the ice cream man that's going by, but
Yeah.
do you by chance want to shed some light on what that was supposed to say?
I don't remember the exact. Let me see if I noted it down somewhere. I might have written it down. I don't think I did.
So it wasn't like something super major then, if it could have just faded away.
It's important, but like only for the ending, because I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but it was something along the lines of the SEC, which I haven't delved much into. I will cover them later, but they found an anomaly present in this timeline, and that anomaly was Ash. So it links to the ending where it's revealed that Ash shouldn't exist. And so the SEC were the ones who end up taking Ash away, and that's why he leaves the phone call at the end.
Okay.
So that was like the main important bit of that video.
Okay, gotcha. The
I
other...
hear the Echo Man again.
Yeah, I'm telling you, every single day at 4 o'clock, he parks outside of my window to ruin my stream. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the chat just like, this is my time to shine. In any case, the other big
questions in the chat actually.
Yeah, we got a couple questions in chat.
Any of the players sorts of questions in creating the urge inspired or influence the end?
I did want to ask, like, what changed throughout the creation of this, and like what input did the players have on like changing the story?
They had more input than they probably realized.
It's the answer I always get to that question. Is you have no idea what you did.
I don't know if you looked at the community tab of the YouTube channel, but there are a lot of times where I would leave a poll where players could vote for. It's usually like what videos they wanted to see next, but there was some like I did the one from the website where they choose who goes to the facility. So there's questions like that where they can influence it. But also with the video ones, depending on which one depending on the order that I released them in, would have impacted the story, because there would have been different stuff in the description, depending on where in the timeline I've released that video. So, and those would have provided extra insight into certain aspects. And that's basically it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. There is one other element I have to ask, because I feel like it went unsolved, and that's the Doomsday Box.
Ooh, yes.
So, the two things that I tried to do to solve it is to click the number pads to, like, as some sort of code.
That was a red herring. I'll just say it now. That was a red herring.
I didn't think it did anything, because I looked at the source code, and I was like, there's nothing here! Okay.
There was actually a different ending I had planned originally. I only came up with the ending that we have now halfway through. And from the beginning, I had this idea of the Doomsday Box, and at the end, X would open the Doomsday Box. Like, he would just be alone in the void, and it would just be him and the box, and he'd finally be able to open it. And there would be a note inside, and that's what reveals to him that he was in a dream state the entire time. And it would basically be a letter. It wouldn't be a phone call from Ash. Instead, it would be a letter from him, basically saying the same stuff. But that's where the Doomsday Box was originally going to fit into the story. It didn't really work out. It kind of like you figured it out. I think you're the only one who actually mentioned it, but the fact that the 3 people in the last 3 videos were the keys that unlocked the box. So the box is still there metaphorically, but not literally. And it was those 3 keys which eventually revealed to him like the nature of his reality.
Okay, so the box being opened is the idea of kind of X opening his mind and finding out the truth about his existence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of like Pandora's box.
Okay.
Once you open it, you can't put it back in.
Okay, so we would say that the box has been opened by X.
Technically, yes.
Okay. So the idea of us opening the box was not really a thing that we could do.
Not really, no.
Okay.
It would have been. Like, there were a lot of things that I wanted to do, but I didn't. I either didn't have the resources or I didn't have the time.
Okay.
So they didn't really pan out. Like, you remember the game commercial that I did? That was originally
Yes.
going to be an actual game.
Oh, really?
That you could play. I've half coded it, but then life got in the way, so I never actually went back to it.
Life will do
The
that.
footage in the video was actually footage from, like, I was recording myself playing the game, so that part was finished.
So there is. All right, cool. That's very interesting.
Maybe I'll finish it one day.
Yeah, maybe one day it'll come down. That's very cool. That's very cool. So there's a question from Goob the Gak God asking about basically game jacking. Was there anyone that was like trolling the ARG or trying to mess with things?
The closest I got was the person who kept signing off as the apostle in the comments, and it kind of made them seem like a character.
Yeah,
like, I don't think they
came
meant
into
it
him
intentionally,
once.
but it did get confusing for some players because they thought they were part of the ARG, and then actually they weren't.
All right. Okay.
But other than that, not really. I
Okay. Good.
don't recall any.
Good. Good. We don't want any game jacking going on. So that's good. So another thing I have to ask, because you said it started as a joke and then it evolved into something else.
Is it the deer thing?
The deer thing. What's up with the deer?
So yeah, it originally just started off as I wanted to make a Christmas episode,
Right.
and I thought I would just. It's a Christmas episode. I'm not gonna make it serious. So I thought, oh, what if I just have kill a deer? And then that developed into a whole. Like, it ended up tying to the ending where it's a deer that causes the car crash.
Mm-hmm.
And so the deer is kind of bleeding through from X's subconscious into the reality that he's placed himself in.
Okay.
So, yeah, it began as a joke and then actually became very important for the ending.
Yeah. It's interesting how like a joke will turn into like a plot point like that.
Yes.
So one of the big compliments I want to give this project, because I feel like this is one of the hardest things to do with an ARG, and that's to explain why we as the viewer, we as the player, are involved in this. And
I feel like I really did. I did that really badly.
No, see, because I loved it because there's the one deer video where it explicitly says, like, this isn't for you, stop. And the idea of, like, oh, our role in this is as interference. Like, we should not be interfering in this, and yet here we are trying to help, and it's causing all these other problems. Like, that moment, like, really hit me of, like, oh, no. I really wasn't invited to take part in this, and yet here we are making all these choices and affecting all these lives. I love that.
I felt like I kind of just threw that in there.
Oh, all right.
I didn't feel like it really tied in well. I just needed something to say, so I just chucked in a House of Leaves reference.
Okay, yeah, because that's the dedication page of
Yes, it's the very first.
Yeah.
It's not quite the very first, but it's like the first part of the actual story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dedication. This is not for you.
Yes.
Big House of Leaves fan, so I like that you threw that in. Big House of Leaves fans in the chat as well, as it turns out.
Yeah.
Woo! So I ask everyone that I interview about these things this question, which is, what advice do you have for someone that wants to create an ARG? What's something that you learned in doing this experience that you would want to pass on to a future puppet master?
Make sure you have the story planned out properly.
Okay.
Make sure you understand your own lore. Because there were times where I did not understand what I was going for, but I somehow managed to make it work.
Okay. Adapt
Make sure
on the
the yes
fly.
thing is good. I've only made one. I don't feel like I'm really qualified.
No, I mean, we don't have a handbook when it comes to these because it is still kind of a new medium, and it's like a very complex and difficult medium that's also like the bar for entry is super low and anyone can do. So we're in a very unique situation, and like now you've made it all the way through one, you're working on more. Like there had to have been moments where you were like, wish I hadn't done that. Note that down for later.
Yeah, multiple times.
Yeah. So yeah, if there was anything that like sticks out in your mind of like a regret where you were just like, I wish I hadn't done that, I'd love to hear that story.
There were a couple of times where I feel like I kind of lent away from what it was originally. So, because you mentioned like the employee videos, I kind of lost focus on that, I guess, because it started as a massive focus of it, and then it gradually just kind of drifted further away. And I kind of wish that I'd stayed with the employee videos, because those were like the best places to get the information from. I kind of went back to it with like the shadow people video and the conveyor belt theory video, but I didn't delve into it as much as I could have, and so it kind of became, there was a time where it kind of became more cliche analog horror kind of stuff. I was a massive fan of that, so I tried to kind of distance myself from that towards the end, which is where I did the break in the fourth wall bit in the final episode, and yeah.
I will say the conveyor belt theory is something that I really liked, and just like as a theory and like an idea to play with. And I
just randomly came up with it at school one day and thought, oh, that'd be great for my ARG because it's got multiple universes, so I might as well use it.
Yeah, I really liked it, and the placement of it where like you kind of learn about it, and then all of a sudden X returns. I was like, that can't be an accident, right? So, like, we are supposed to assume that some sort of conveyor belt situation took place when X returns, right?
Yeah, well, I can't remember what exactly I put. It was ages ago. But he, if I recall correctly, I think it was in the two cameras video, he mentions that he thought it was a day after he went to the facility, when actually it's been months since then. So there's a time jump in our reality, but in his time dilation situation, it's only been 1 day.
Right.
So he presumably, I'm not gonna confirm anything because I
Okay.
don't want. But presumably, some sort of conveyor belt theory did happen where he entered a faster time stream that took him into the future,
Okay.
and then he came back. If it was even him,
Gotcha.
which it might not have
Which it
been.
might not be. So, question from the chat. Did you do this alone, or did you have help? Is there a team behind this, or is it just you?
It was just me and a private DM with myself on Discord where I was writing down all my notes. I didn't even have a Word document. It was just all Discord notes.
Okay, gotcha. Well, like, who's Ash? Like, we hear Ash's voice.
As in the
The phone
person
call.
who voiced him.
Like, we hear Ash's phone call. Was that you, or?
That would I did get a voice actor. Yes. He is to Helen back in the chat.
Oh,
He is the one who voiced Ash.
okay. Well, to hell and back.
But that was the only
Fantastic
time
job.
where I really got help with it. Other than that, I was just on my own. It's just me and Discord.
Well, that's impressive. And you're currently like, I was so behind when I started playing this, and like, I was like, I got to get through at least just this chunk of it, so we can get to this point where we can have the conversation.
Behind.
There is so much more that have come out. How much more do you think there is to this?
I want to say theoretically it could go on forever.
Okay, so
Like I have the next generation planned. And I don't have a second generation after that planned, but I also didn't have this generation one as first generation. I didn't have that planned at the start of generation 0, so theoretically I could develop the story more and continue into the future.
okay, so you do not currently have a concrete, this is how this story ends moment.
No, I want to be able to one day look, if I do ever end it, or even if I don't end it, I want to one day be able to look back and like it would be essentially like a timeline of my progress in storytelling and editing, that stuff. So it goes from fine to something I actually like, and it's developed and thought out. So it's kind of like the archive part of the name is kind of for me as well, because it is an archive of my own projects. And I want to be able to continue that over time, hopefully for multiple years.
Okay, that makes sense.
I ramble a lot. I'm sorry.
No, you're here to ramble. I gave you the stage to talk about your project, and you're doing it. So I'm very happy. So it's all good. Question from the chat: if you could expand a bit on what is Iris?
I don't think you watched Childhood Nightmares, did you?
I don't remember which one Childish Nightmare. No, because that was after.
It's the kind of spin-off after it concludes. In that, so at the end of the complete series video, the multiple hour one, there is a short message from Iris at the end, just showing that they are still around. Like they kind of just disappeared off the map for a bit, but they are still there. And in Childhood Nightmares, without getting too into it, Iris is trying to guide a child out of her own nightmares. Ooh, it's in the name. So they more act as like guides to other people. So they were Jamie's guide and Ash's guide. So that's kind of the role they play in the ALG.
Okay, all right, that sounds good because there's the TEC, there's Iris, and then there's Harbor, right? Those are the three companies.
There's also Stars.
Oh, and Stars,
that one only came up once. That one's not really that important.
Yeah, they're the ones that try to save Raccoon City.
Sure, yes.
So one thing I said throughout my Let's Play that I really think we should clarify is I kept saying TEC Archives, the Echo Chamber. Was that right? Is that what TEC stands for?
Yeah, it stands for the Echo Chamber.
All right. It's good to be right about a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it does stand for the Echo Chamber. Okay. I don't know why the company decided to name themselves after that, but...
I'm just glad we got something. Because another thing that, like, I kind of picked up on, and you said that, like, I was kind of pulling at the right thread here, but I didn't go too far, was whenever we see the images of these people, their eyes are blacked out. And I kept making jokes like, oh, their eyes are blacked out so we don't know their identity, yet their name is underneath them. Ha ha ha. And just kind of like giggling. Yeah. And then it slowly started to dawn on me that that wasn't happening to everybody. So, like, there was a clear reason why their eyes were blacked out, right?
Uh-huh.
Would it be correct to say that their eyes were screwed up in some way and didn't, like, look human anymore? I gotta get something! Yes. I gotta get something out of you! Come on!
Yes, essentially, yeah.
Okay, because they're... Okay. Is that all you want to say? Because I'll leave you alone.
That part is quite complicated to explain. Like, there is a reason why their eyes are blacked out and why only some of them are.
Okay.
But it's only kind of delved into.
Okay.
Time's a bit weird, so their eyes might not be screwed up in that moment, but it might be hinting that something happens to them in the future.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. I don't know how much of this makes sense.
Okay, so I could get the idea of just like, it's not an active way of just hiding their eyes, but something happened to their eyes at some point that has now, in some way, retrospectively... I'm trying to explain it, and I don't even know what I'm saying, so... But yeah, I think I'm on board with you. I think I get this. So, as I've been saying, a lot of this is unsolved still.
Yes. I don't think it will ever be solved, to be honest.
Like, that's kind of where I was kind of going here. Like, in your mind, is part of this the idea that it's unsolvable, or that, like, it's...
I wouldn't say it's unsolvable, but it's very complicated. There's a lot of pieces that you have to fit together in the right way to solve it, and some of them can be pieced together in a different way to how I intended it, which kind of made it turn into, like, it's your interpretation.
Okay.
Because I've seen some really good interpretations of what's going on that weren't the intention, but I liked their thinking.
Okay.
So yeah.
It's with ARGs, it's always so interesting because part of what makes it appealing is the wall that the creator builds between the viewer and the story that you kind of have to chip through in order to, like, get its true meaning. In your mind, for this project, how important is it that the viewers and audience eventually solve it? Is that important to you, or is it, like, fine to be, like, an enigma to people?
Well, like I said, I kind of like that it's... Like, you don't really need the actual answer if you have your own answer, I guess.
Okay.
So if you have if you have an explanation that works for you, then you can theoretically keep that explanation and it would still work in the future. So, like, whether or not you have the right explanation doesn't really matter if the explanation you have, if the pieces still fit together after more comes out. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's important to understand the intention.
Okay. There's a question from the chat that I don't really even understand, so I'm just going to read it here. Also, there was the repeating picture of the TEC Gen 0 with, like, black lines going everywhere.
Oh, I know what this is in reference to.
Do you have anything to say about this? Because I don't recall this.
Yes. So there's repeating imagery of, it's kind of like a spider web of just black lines going in all directions. Okay. That is, you also see it in the latest video. I don't know if anyone's recognized it. But that was a concept that I was going to delve into more. I might delve into it more in the future. But there's a space in between the universes called the lobby.
Okay.
And that's what it looks like. It's like interconnected lines. So there's points in between the lines where they connect, and those are like weak points. And so if the lines are like different timelines, those weak points are where people are able to step from one to the other.
Okay.
I don't know how much sense that makes without any context.
No, I get the concept of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I exactly apply it to an element of the story, but like I get what you're saying, and like that's good information for when viewing to kind of like piece things together. I dig it there. So I don't want to take you up too much of your time, so like I try to keep these to like an hour, but
well, I could chat for as long as you want me to.
Oh, okay. I do need to ask, since so much of this remains unsolved, if there was a video or an element or something that you would point at that you think people should go back and revisit and rethink about and really maybe investigate, where would you point people?
I wouldn't say there's a specific video.
Okay.
Because like they're both very different from each other, but also very like they're interconnected but very different, and like yeah. I wouldn't say there's a specific one that you should go back and look at.
So you just think that we're missing something overall, and we should just go back and look at everything?
Yeah, just rewatch the whole thing. It's like 2 hours long. It's not too long.
Here, maybe this is a way you can kind of shed some light on things. In terms of what is currently possible for us to understand, percentage-wise, how much do you think people understand?
10%.
10%?
There's a lot of unfinished concepts that you can't really solve fully at the moment.
Okay, all right, okay.
Like, there's more that, like, there's concepts from Generation 1, as far as I've planned it, it won't be, like, following the same characters necessarily, but it will continue with concepts from this first generation.
Okay.
So, you probably only really understood about 10%.
Okay. let me rephrase my question then.
Mm-hmm.
As someone that's been viewing not just my Let's Play but other people's experiences with this,
yeah.
In terms of what is possible, what would be our letter grade? Because a 10% is a really, really bad F on our experiences here. How are we doing?
B or C.
B or C? All right, we'll call it a
Yeah.
we'll call it a C plus.
Everyone I've seen trying to solve it is going in the right direction. There's like one or two things that aren't intentional, but they might have come up with an alternate explanation that I like. And yeah, there's some things that aren't correct necessarily, but it's kind of there.
Okay.
And then there's other things that no one really knows what to do with.
Okay, gotcha. Question from the chat. What happened to the savant?
Ooh, that's a fun story.
Okay.
I originally had a lot more planned for them, but they just kind of appeared and disappeared and never really came back. Maybe I'll touch on them again in Generation 1. I haven't got anything planned for them.
Okay.
But they're one of the story threads that I kind of just abandoned because it wasn't really working with what I was doing.
I do want to talk real quick about the TEC Archives website, because like there's really two elements of this story.
The one I abandoned after like half the series.
What happened? Like that first couple chunks where like you could go to the website, change like the ending, and discover a new webpage. I was like, oh, there's so much here. And then like as time went on, I was like, I don't know if I'm missing them or if we're just not doing this element of the story anymore.
There was a point where like originally I thought, oh, the ARG needs a website for it to be complete, and on this website I'll have all the secret lore that everyone needs to solve the story. And then as the story actually progressed, I kind of realized I didn't really want to use the website for that anymore.
Okay.
So, and also time and life.
Yeah.
So I kind of just gradually forgot about the website until it got to a point where I just abandoned it altogether.
All right. That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And in terms of other elements, I should mention that there is one of the streams where I send an email to, I think, Harbor. You could send.
Yeah.
And like, I realized very recently.
If I ever responded to that.
No, you did. And
I
was just like, it was like, hey, sorry for the delay. How can we assist you? And I think I looked at that like last week, like, crap.
Oh.
Was there anything like specific in the emails, or was that just like a bonus thing?
The emails were another thing I kind of just abandoned.
Okay.
Like there are a lot of. It kind of. It even started with Imager, whatever the site, however you pronounce the name. Yeah. There was also stuff on that.
Never found that. Okay.
Like all of these sites that I wanted to like merge into one overarching story, and you had to go to the different sites to understand it. Or I might do that in the next generation, but for this one, it got to a point where it kind of became too much to handle all at once. So I just stuck with the YouTube videos and just kind of abandoned everything else and just praised that people forgot they existed.
Yeah, because I will notice that like when I was playing and I was jumping back and forth, like the number of views on a video versus the numbers of views of a blog post were like drastically different.
Yeah.
So I totally understand focus on like what is getting the attention and such.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So I'm going to do a last call for questions in the chat because we're going to be wrapping this up soon. So last call if anybody has a question. And do you have like a favorite memory or anything like that? Something positive to bring this home of just like watching people enjoy this?
I guess like starting it.
Okay.
Like that sounds really boring, but like starting the ARG in the first place, it felt like this like big chapter in my life where I was going to go into more of a storytelling
Okay.
thing. Uh, yeah, like that point marked me just being like this hobbyless child who does nothing with their life into someone who has this whole story that they're developing and people are actually enjoying it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good point in between.
It's very interesting that like I've done 3 Puppetmaster interviews at this, 3 or 4, and I feel like that's a very common answer of just like I didn't know what to do, so I made an ARG, and I just find that very interesting. That
Yeah.
like it's like, well, I'm pretty direct, have no direction right now. What should I do? I should create an entire world.
Yeah, I mean, the world does continue to expand now that I've got this primary universe. I guess I mean it's technically multiple universes, but
Yeah,
we
the
won't
primary
get into that.
multiverse that you've created.
Yeah, the primary multiverse. I've kind of started to create other projects.
Okay.
So there's, I don't think anyone else knows this yet, but there's one called the Magpies game that I just started, and that is linked to this primary multiverse.
Ooh.
So I'm starting to create like external projects that are tied to it.
Okay.
So it's like a multiverse, I guess.
Okay. It was called the Magpie game.
Yes, it's the Magpies game. It's a Discord-based ARG.
Oh. Okay.
Mm.
I'll have to keep that. That's on my radar now, so I'll have to look for that
And
one.
I've also started. There's books that I started writing, and there's a comic series that I started as well.
Okay.
So, like, I've really started to expand this universe.
Very cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
I'm having fun with it.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Did you find it hard to get a player base at the beginning, or did that happen quickly?
It was weird. I uploaded the first video and then it got hundreds of views, and I had no idea where they came from.
Mm.
It just kind of appeared, and then I just kind of worked with it. And then over time, as I added more to it, people just gradually like filtered in.
So
Yeah,
you didn't like promote it anywhere? Like, did this go up on like?
I promoted it on my other YouTube channel, but that also
Okay.
doesn't have much attention. So
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
there was that video I was going to send you.
There was a video you're going to send me.
There was a secret. There was a secret video.
Oh yeah, we did discuss that. Yeah, I never did watch a
Oh my
secret
god! I need
video.
to send that to you while I remember.
Yes, send that to me on Discord, and we'll do a bonus stream
it's
where I
loud.
check that out.
Yes.
But thank you so much for taking the time to discuss this with me. It's a very unique, interesting project that is continuing on right now. Everyone should go check out the TEC Archives. Where can people find your stuff?
I mean, mainly just that channel. That's the most active channel I have. And then, like I said, there's also a Discord project which I started, so I guess you can go find that. It's out there in the ether somewhere.
And any social media handles you want to throw out there?
I don't know. I've started moving to a new channel. It hasn't got anything yet. It's called Zeffington.
Zeffington?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm hoping to upload stuff on it. I'm trying to move away from the YarnEnderman stuff because that feels a bit too childish, I guess.
Well, it's a Minecraft reference, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to move into more like mature stuff.
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
So yeah, I'm trying to move away from it.
Yeah, I went as Cloud because I was a Final Fantasy VII nerd for a long time on the internet before I was like, I need to make a brand here. So I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for creating such an interesting project. I know that there's a lot more to be viewed. Maybe that'll end up being played on my streams as well. And then we'll do another one of these.
Sure. I'm happy to come back.
Yeah. Thank you so much. But that's going to
no
wrap it
problem.
up for here. So thanks to everyone in the chat for coming and hanging out. And I think that's going to do it for this. So be sure to check out my stuff. Subscribe to Plus 2 Comedy Gaming. And also follow me here on Twitch. That's Plus 2 Comedy. And I'll see you all next time. Boop.